Chapter 4. Vanity Fair. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. Bhagavad-gita 14:7. My father once shared a vivid memory from his youth, a powerful lesson from his time with Srila Prabhupada in the bustling heart of New York City. I remember walking with Srila Prabhupada through the heart of New York City one evening. He began recounting an experience from his younger days. The lights were dazzling, the noise was deafening, and people were rushing everywhere, their faces filled with a strange mixture of excitement and anxiety. I was a young man then, and part of me was still impressed by the sheer energy of it all. My spiritual master stopped on a corner, looked around at the towering buildings and frantic crowds, and said to me very quietly, "This is Vanity Fair. They are selling everything here but nothing of value." This profound observation immediately resonated with me when I first read about Christian and faithful's unsettling journey through John Bunyan's allegorical marketplace. My father told me about an evening he spent walking with Srila Prabhupada through the heart of New York City. I conveyed to my father. His spiritual master, seeing the frantic crowds and dazzling lights, quietly remarked, "This is Vanity Fair. They are selling everything here but nothing of value." When I read about Christian and faithful entering this market, I felt a deep understanding. I asked him, how can we, as modern pilgrims living in such a materially saturated world, pass through this Vanity Fair without buying into its illusions? My students often feel pressured to buy what the world offers, even when they know it doesn't bring true happiness. The mode of passion. My father, understanding the perennial nature of this challenge, nodded. My dear, Bunyan's Vanity Fair is a perfect, enduring picture of what the Bhagavad-gita calls rajas, the mode of passion. He clarified, the verse 14:7 explains it clearly. Rajas is the energy of creation, of ambition, and of desire. It is born of unlimited desires and longings, and it binds the embodied soul to this world through attachment to the results of our actions. While the mode of goodness leads to knowledge and the mode of ignorance to delusion, the mode of passion, as the Gita states, is characterized by greed. It is the force that propels humanity to build cities, create empires, and drive themselves to work ceaselessly, to compete, to achieve, to acquire. It creates a perpetual state of busyness, a constant striving for more. He continued, Srila Prabhupada often described how those under the spell of rajas are perpetually agitated, never truly satisfied. They are driven by an insatiable thirst for pleasure and accumulation. This mode is described as causing distress because any pursuit of material happiness, rooted in attachment to outcomes, is ultimately bound to be defeated by the temporary nature of this world. It binds the soul to endless fruitive actions, creating more karma, more entanglement. Unlike the mode of goodness, which seeks elevation, or the mode of ignorance, which descends, those entrenched in rajas tend to dwell in the middle, perpetually cycling between fleeting joys and inevitable sorrows, never quite finding genuine liberation. The marketplace of illusion. So when Christian and faithful enter Vanity Fair, they are stepping into the global marketplace of rajas, my father explained. Imagine a fair that has been continuously running for 5,000 years, selling every conceivable desire of the material world. Houses, lands, trades, places, honors, preferments, titles, countries, kingdoms, lusts, pleasures, and delights of all sorts, even bodies, souls, and lives. This is not just a market of goods. It is a market of identities, aspirations, and fleeting gratifications. It thrives on the unlimited desires and longings that are the very essence of rajas. He contrasted this with the Vedic understanding of demonic tendencies, which, though extreme, highlights the mentality driving such a fair. The Gita also describes the demoniac mentality, which is a heightened form of rajas and tamas. Such persons think, so much wealth do I have today and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now and it will increase in the future more and more. I am the Lord of everything, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. This self-centered, acquisitive mentality is the very air breathed in Vanity Fair. Everyone is a merchant, a buyer, or a seller, all caught in the frantic dance of consumption and ambition. The fair is a microcosm of the material world, perpetually distracting us from our true spiritual nature and purpose. aliens in the marketplace. Christian and faithful, however, enter this scene as complete outsiders, my father continued, highlighting their stark difference. They immediately cause a commotion. Their very appearance, dressed in simple raiment, unlike the fashion of the world, marks them as different. They speak a language of heaven, which is unintelligible to the fairgoers. And most tellingly, they show no interest in the merchandise. When asked what they want to buy, Christian replies, "We buy the truth." This declaration, spoken amidst a cacophony of worldly commerce, is an affront to the very foundation of Vanity Fair. It reveals that the values of the pilgrims are entirely contrary to the values of the market. Their presence, therefore, is seen as an act of subversion. They are dragged before the magistrates, accused of disturbing the peace and fostering sedition. Their trial is a mockery of justice, designed to condemn rather than to seek truth. This is how the world reacts when its illusions are challenged by genuine spiritual conviction. It seeks to silence, punish, or even destroy those who refuse to buy into its narrative. Beyond material outcome, Faithful's defense is not a clever legal argument. It is a simple, profound declaration of truth, my father explained, his voice imbued with reverence. He admits that he has spoken against that which is set up against the Supreme Lord. He has not disturbed the peace. He has disturbed the illusion. He has exposed the nothing of value being sold. The verdict is, of course, a foregone conclusion. Faithful is found guilty, and his execution is one of the most brutal imaginable. He is scourged, lanced, stoned, and finally burned at the stake. When I first read this as a young man, my father confessed, I was horrified. It seemed like a terrible tragedy, a victory for evil, a stark warning against defying the world. But when I discussed it with Srila Prabhupada, he showed me a much deeper truth. This is not defeat, he said. This is the greatest victory. To leave the body while speaking the truth with one's mind fixed on God. This is the perfection of life. He taught me that from a spiritual perspective, the material body is temporary anyway. So to give up the body for a higher spiritual principle with one's consciousness fixed on the Supreme is the ultimate triumph. Faithful's death was not an end but a glorious transition to the celestial city, carried by a chariot and horses. He passed directly into the eternal spiritual realm. He then contrasted this with Christian's earlier experience with Mr. Worldly Wiseman. Remember how Mr. Worldly Wiseman offered a seemingly easier way to shed Christian's burden by following a path of material morality and legality. Faithful's story highlights the futility of such shortcuts. True spiritual liberation often demands a willingness to face the world's wrath, to reject its false promises, and if necessary to sacrifice everything for the truth. This is the essence of working without attachment to the fruits of action, as the Gita advises. Faithful acted for the Supreme, not for worldly gain, and thus achieved the highest perfection, transcending the binding effects of karma. Christian, though escaping the clutches of the fairgoers, experienced deep sorrow at the loss of his friend. But he also witnessed Faithful's ultimate spiritual victory. This reinforced his conviction and strengthened his resolve. He understood that true success lies not in avoiding suffering or accumulating material gains, but in unwavering adherence to spiritual principles even unto death. Navigating modern Vanity Fairs. This profound explanation deeply informs my approach to teaching about modern consumerism and the pervasive influence of social media. I explain to my students that these platforms are today's Vanity Fair, a global, always-on marketplace constantly selling us desires and longings for things of no value. From trending fashion and lavish lifestyles to the endless pursuit of likes and validation, these digital arenas are powered by the engine of Rajas, fueling ambition, comparison, and a relentless striving for external recognition. The demoniac mentality, as described in the Gita, of constantly acquiring, being the enjoyer, and wanting to be the richest man, finds its modern expression in the curated realities and performative lives presented online. The lesson of Christian and Faithful is one of non-attachment and integrity. I encourage my students to cultivate a detached perspective, to understand that pursuing endless material desires, whether physical goods or digital validation, will only bind them further in the mode of passion. True happiness, I explain, comes not from external acquisition but from fixing one's mind on spiritual truth, even amidst the clamor and distractions of the world, just as faithful did in his ultimate moment. It's like navigating a bustling marketplace. You can appreciate the vibrancy and utility of certain things without needing to buy into every fleeting trend or becoming entangled in every transaction, knowing that true treasures lie beyond the stalls. I teach them to question, what are you truly buying? What is the real value of this pursuit? We practice recognizing when our desire for external validation, a subtle form of rajas, is driving our actions and how to redirect that energy toward authentic self-expression and spiritual connection. This means cultivating an inner resilience that allows them to interact with the world's Vanity Fair without becoming consumed by it. It means understanding that the King's promises and the truth Christians sought are infinitely more valuable than any fleeting pleasure or social status offered by the market. Christian has now passed through the fire of rajas. He has lost a dear friend but gained a new one in Hopeful, who joins him after witnessing Faithful's steadfastness. He has seen the worst of the material world's judgment and the highest victory of the spirit. The journey is far from over, but he is stronger, wiser, and no longer alone. He carries with him the indelible lesson that while the world may crucify the truth itself can never be defeated.